Hey, welcome back to Hobbies with Jose, everyone. Today we do have part 3 of our Repaint of Studio Series Grimlock. And we've got some extra goodies. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. So good to have you back. Today we do have a very special package that finally came in. And that's our DK24 accessory kit for Studio Series Grimlock from DNA Designs. So let's crack this box open and see what we've got. And here we have all of the contents that are included, which is pretty thorough. Let's go ahead and take a look at each one in more detail. To start us off, we have the plates here for the bottom of the feet, and they do have really excellent molded detail on them. Now, of course, I am going to paint these as well before I permanently add them to the piece, but looks like they're going to fit on there pretty well. And one thing I noticed on the bottom heel piece is that what they really did is copied the molded detail that's inside of the existing piece and just put it on the bottom plate, which I definitely can't blame them. It's a good design. I'm glad they did that. And next up, we have the neck piece in the translucent yellow, which looks absolutely great. And the quality of the plastic feels really good too. As I mentioned before, this is great for anybody that wants to make their figure more like the G1 toy. But of course, I'm going to be sticking to a more tune-accurate look, but it never hurts to have the choice. Here we have the extra set of dino arms, now with articulated fingers, which they really did a great job of recreating what was already there. And I'm glad they didn't steer too far away from the existing design too. The colored plastic that they use is a very good match too. Very hard to tell the difference. Now, here are some pieces that I was really interested in, and that's the arm filler bits. They're very nicely molded, and they do add an extra bit of silver paint onto the piece too. Now, once you add them onto the arm though, what you're supposed to do is just flip them open, and that allows you to flip in the fist or flip it back out and close them back up again. Even though the design of the piece itself looks good, I don't think it really matches with the surrounding area all too well. And the bulkiness of it kind of sticks out too. Overall, it is a welcome piece though. There's also a very nicely molded sword included too, and it's got some nice silver paint added to it. There's an extra tab here on the side which is used for storage in Dyna mode, which is nice, but overall this sword just looks great. Of course, a couple of pieces that many of you were waiting on, myself included, and that's his 2 front teeth and his 3 front teeth. And it looks like the top piece goes over this little screw section here, which I do like how it makes the top part less hollow too. What an improvement that makes. Now, apart from the longer screws that you get for some of the extra pieces, you also get some very welcome screw hole covers. Yeah, these are going to be a very good addition to the figure. And lastly, but certainly not least, you do get an extra wheelie figure, which this guy is of course fully articulated, fully transformable, and still fully hollow. I think they just wanted to make it similar to the wheelie that was included, but just with more functionality, which I can respect that. And the alt mode doesn't really do it for me that much. It doesn't look all that great, and the tabs don't really want to hold in place too. I think I'm just going to wait for the rumored Studio Series version. Hopefully that one will be better. So apart from all of that being included, you also get a couple of different wheelie heads which have very minor differences I could hardly tell myself. And you also get the instructions showing you how to install everything as well. But with all of that, there's one thing missing. And that's the clear chest piece. For some reason, I assumed that it was going to include a clear replacement chest piece. Thankfully though, I found out before it arrived, so it gave me the chance to do something else. And that was to order another kit. Thankfully though, the clear chest piece that comes with this one looks absolutely great. But it is a whole nother kit, so let's take a look at everything else that comes included. There is a crown for Grimlock, which is overall simplistic in design, but that's how the crown actually looked. I do wish the pointy bits on top were a little bit sharper, but I do know they wanted to keep the toyetic look of the piece. And we of course do get some extra teeth, which these are designed a little bit differently, a little bit more simplistic. It's a nice option to have, but I think I'm going to keep the ones from the DNA kit. Now here we have some differently designed arm fillers, so let's take a look at how these look on the figure. So these work a little bit differently than where instead of folding up, you just kind of turn them outwards, and that gives you access to the fist. Now I do think that the overall design of these fits much better to the overall look of Grimlock compared to the ones included from DNA Designs. And they're not as bulky too, so they're not sticking out too much. So I think I'm definitely going to go with these instead. And lastly, the kit also comes with its own sword. Now it did come in separate pieces, which I haven't pegged together all the way just yet. Unfortunately, it is unpainted, but because it's separate pieces, it would make it a lot easier to paint. Here it is compared with the one from DNA Designs, and although it's not quite as long, I do like how it's a little bit wider, and I think the overall shape just looks a little bit better too. I think we'll give this one a nice paint job and see what we come up with. Now here's the information for the second accessory kit that I purchased. I did get it off of eBay. I don't remember exactly how much, but it wasn't a whole lot. If anyone's curious on picking it up, you have various contact information for them here. And I should note they're not a sponsor, but I'm certainly happy with the purchase. But before we start with any more painting today, there's a last bit of modification I want to do. I did mention in my Grimlock review how I thought that the dino fingers seem to have their claws clipped since they're so flat in the front. I want to go ahead and see if I can't thin them out a little bit, just make them a little bit sharper. So let's go ahead and get started with that. Well, we got a ton done today, and I do feel that Grimlock is starting to come together. Now, just as I did with Studio Series Soundwave's chest, I added a coat of clear yellow onto the gold pieces just to give them an extra yellow shine, and I do think that's going to suit Grimlock very well. And thankfully, the third-party add-ons are really going to help to complete the overall look of Grimlock. I am quite happy with the sword too. It looks ready to do some damage. Although I've got a weird craving for mango with chili powder. That sounds pretty good right now. But join me next week where we'll keep adding some more color onto our big beast. And remember, you can follow me on social media on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And I'm still having a wild time in Red Dead Redemption 2, where you can catch me mostly on weekends at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Not just on YouTube, but on Twitch as well. But as always, thank you so much for watching, and if you like what you saw, you know what to do. See you next week, everyone.